So I thought this was a fun chapter and really was kind of doing a good job of setting the tone and the pace for this Ice Hell or Century Soup arc.
Toriko Gourmet number 65, Gourmet Living Legend Setsuno.
Well, hello my brothers and sisters and gourmet hunters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and awe-inspiring and just mouth-wateringly good tale of Toriko. Our last chapter saw us with really just kind of being introduced to Gourmet Town, which I felt was almost like a living, breathing character, the way everything was described in such intricate detail and how there's just such a working infrastructure within this, this city, and just very, very neat. At the end of the chapter, though, however, we were introduced to Granny Setsu, or Chef Setsuno, which is I guess one of the four legendary living legends. She's been bestowed with the title of Living Legend. She's just that good, right? So the chapter ended off there, and this chapter picks up, you know, obviously right where they left off, and we're introduced to her, you know, formally. And she seems to be a very nice old woman, despite the fact that she's obviously just like this legend, you know. She's one of those humble legends. She's one of those people that she has statues and everything, I guess, devoted to her, and a whole chain of restaurants named after her, but she doesn't really like that kind of fame and that like that paparazzi, that kind of being in the limelight. She's just, you know, very humble and down to earth. At least that's what it seems like. So she goes and takes Toriko's hair, and she's like, "You got such messy hair." And she goes and fixes up his hair, and she puts it in like a pompadour, like Knocking Master Jiro. And Toriko's like, "Well, what are you doing with my hair?" And this and that. And she's like, "Well, you know what? That's fine. Our meeting is canceled. We don't have to eat." And Toriko's like, he does it up all nice. And he's like, "Is this good for you, ma'am?" You know, kissing up all that ass. So it is kind of funny to see Toriko almost kind of going and bowing down to somebody, you know, because he's so excited about this meal that she's going to serve them. So anyway, they just kind of met by happenstance in this department store. That's not actually where her restaurant is. So as they go off and they're walking off towards it, and we get to see more of the city a little bit and everything else, we wind up finding that her restaurant is actually, it looks almost like a castle from the outside, but it's kind of like, if anybody's ever been to like Las Vegas, there's the Strip, and then there's stuff that's off the Strip, right? And the stuff that's off the Strip, they're still very, very good places, but it just doesn't have the same glitz and glamour that you do going down there. Or like, I'm from Chicagoland area here, from Chicago, and there's a thing called the Magnificent Mile, and it's this stretch down Michigan Avenue of just where all the buildings and everything are just, you know, just lit up all the time. A lot of your shops and things like that are there, but there's also great things that are not on Michigan Avenue as well, and this is one of those situations where she's kind of outside of town. So as they're approaching it, Komatsu is, you know, questioning Toriko a little bit about her and about her background and everything else. And we wind up finding out she actually, you know, asks Komatsu his name and you know, lets him introduce himself and everything. And then says, "Oh, you work for Igo. You know, how's little Ichi doing?" And he's like, "What, little Ichi?" And I guess that's the president of the Igo Corporation. And she's one of the only people in the world that can get away with calling him little Ichi. So because she's kind of old school, Komatsu goes and he's like, "You know, I remember hearing about back in the day, like a great gourmet hunter, legendary gourmet hunters would pair up with like legendary chefs, you know, so obviously they could, you know, supply them with the ingredients, and the chefs could go and work on these new dishes and everything else, and they worked as like a team, right?" And she says, "So you were teamed up with, you know, obviously the president of Igo?" And she's like, "Oh no, what are you talking about?" She's like, "I was paired up with Jiro." And they showed Jiro like as a younger man, you know, and it's so funny because he straight up has like this Elvis look to him with that pompadour and everything, you know. And it's great. I kind of assumed that as soon as I saw her do Toriko's hair up like that, but anyway, so we find out. And then Komatsu's like, "What, you mean Knocking Master Jiro? He saved my life." And she's like, "Oh, well, that's nice, you know." So just kind of one of those things where it's like, to Komatsu, that's like, "Oh my God, I met like a celebrity," you know. And she's just like, "Yeah, whatever, you know, I used to have sex with them." But that's how it sounded to me anyway. Like they used to be paired up, like, you know, sexually, as well as, you know, a working relationship. So because she says about how he'd get the ingredients and then she would, you know, come up with these great dishes. So they go in and go to walk into this restaurant, and it looks kind of like this cool looking castle from the outside, but as they go and they step inside, you know, the lights aren't even on. We find out that she only opens up, that there's like Toriko made this reservation 4 years ago, okay? And Komatsu is just like, "I can't believe you could even get in here and that you even know her, you have an in with her," because there's like world leaders that it takes like 10, they gotta make a reservation like 10 years in advance. And part of it is that she basically just cooks when she feels like it. So she opens up once a month, and then she's like, once a month? I open up when I feel like it. And apparently she hasn't even opened up in like 6 months now. She just hasn't felt like it, right? So they get in there and it's dark and the lights won't go on. Komatsu makes mention of it. She says that's why she was at the department store to get some new light bulbs. All the lights obviously, have gone out, just from not being open for the last 6 months, what have you. So as she goes and screws in a light bulb and it opens up, this place is just kind of this, it's kind of this like shitty hole in the wall looking diner. It's like something that you would see on like on the Food Network on Guy Fieri's Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. It's just like a little diner / dive looking place that looks like it would have been open 24 hours. It's like Denny's looks better than it, right? And Komatsu is going, he's looking around and he's like, Jesus, this is ordinary and just ordinary cookware and ordinary plates and a lot of what he's used to being a 5-star chef is a lot of the presentation, and it's a lot of the glitz and glam of, we put it on this type of plate and we use this type of pot and we use this type of knife, So he's kind of used to the background of it, the ambiance, And Toriko goes and he says, don't ever judge a chef by the surroundings. You judge them purely on their meals. She prepares the best meals in the world and prepares only her full-course meal for everybody. And it's actually kind of cool because you see her full-course meal here, and she's got some good-looking stuff on there, man. 100-leaf clover, deep-fried in sesame, E.T. rice balls. I kind of like that. So, grilled royal land shark, stewed magma consomme, Oasis melon sherbet, Doham spring sake, just some really cool stuff. But then she goes in, and this is cool, it's how the chapter ends, which I thought was great. She's like, but today we're not going to have that. I'm going to make a special for you, So not only does she not open on any type of regular basis, and it is impossible to get in there, and Toriko had to make this reservation 4 years ago, but she's going to go and make him something off menu, something special, And anybody who's ever had an in at a restaurant or with a chef or whatever, it's really cool when it's a good chef and they have a nice special, or when they will make, if you know them, and they'll make something off menu for you. There was a couple of places in my life that I frequented enough that I got to know the owners, got to know one of the cooks and what have you, and and then you find out about something that they have that's off menu, and you feel real cool being able to get it because it's something that's not offered to everybody else, and usually it's something that is like a chef's special. It's a delicacy, or it's very good, So and don't get me wrong, these weren't at like 5-star restaurants or anything like that, just still family type restaurant, hole in the wall type deals. But to me, I felt special, It's the closest thing I ever came to feeling like I was some kind of celebrity. But anyway, nonetheless, the chapter ends up though right after that, or shortly after that, we see that the Setsuno special for today is century soup, which I think is cool because obviously that's the beginning of this arc over here, and it's just straight up great how, you get Toriko just sits there and he's just like, starting now, not even a volcanic eruption could keep us from devouring this. And she's just like, now let's enjoy some legendary soup. And this experience will be out of this world. And you got, Komatsu is just so wide-eyed, man. I swear to God, he's just like he's like a baby, just like seeing the world for the first time, or like a puppy when they first open their eyes and they're like, just looking around at everything, and then it says menu 6, century soup, and that's where we leave off over here. So definitely another one of those kind of bridge building up chapters, but I appreciate these chapters probably more so than even some of the action heavy chapters because they develop the characters and the world within that the characters live within, that they reside within. You can make all kinds of fights and everything like that, but they don't mean shit if the setting isn't cool, if the backdrop isn't cool, and if there isn't a story that intertwines and there's a purpose to it. You know what I mean? At least in my opinion, I've been a person that's always enjoyed that. I enjoy the world building, the character development, and then they do a great job of it in here. So with the explanations and everything else, you feel like they're in a living, breathing world. You feel like you're getting to know this person, this fictional character. So I guess my thoughts, or my chapter question is, what are your thoughts, brothers and sisters, on Granny Setsuno? Certainly, I like the fact that she's humble. They talk about her restaurant being off the beaten path, and even though it looks like a hole in the wall, she does better than some of those 10-star gourmet restaurants that are in the midst of Gourmet City, and a lot of it is just because of the popularity and fame that she has. I'm sure that she commands a higher price for her type of cooking. So, but what are your thoughts on her, brothers and sisters? Let me know in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you hunters in the next one, nation.
Both of Nami's breasts would like you to go and check me out on Facebook and Twitter as well.